Well, we all love to hate the CBC, but here they go again. Did you know that CBC handed out almost $15 million of your money in bonuses for their executives? At the same time, the CEO and president of CBC, Catherine Tait, who herself earns a pretty healthy penny of $479,000 a year, she was claiming poverty and they were laying off over 140 staff at CBC. But hey, can't not give out those bonuses. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Brian Lilley and Lorrie Goldstein. Brian, we knew that this bonus sort of narrative has been out there for some time under heavy questioning from Conservative MP Rachel Thomas from Alberta. Catherine Tait has gone to committee, I think 3 or 4 times in the last 4 to 5 months, crying poverty, saying that the CBC is the only one that can fight disinformation, but hey, we're going to fire people, but at the same time, we're going to give bonuses. Tait seemed to sort of be less than forthcoming about whether or not CBC was actually going to put forward these bonuses, and then they certainly did.
I'm a little bit distracted watching Lorrie Goldstein act like Marlon Brando in The Godfather petting his cat there. Welcome to the cat. Look, I just need to correct you on one very important fact, Adrienne. CBC does not hand out bonuses. Catherine Tait made that very clear. These are not bonuses. This is at-risk performance pay, or what everybody else in the planet calls a bonus. So expect that line to come from CBC, that no, they didn't hand out $14.9 million in bonuses. It was at-risk performance pay. Well, what's it at risk of if you're handing it out when their ratings are in the toilet, when they're having to eliminate 800 jobs, because that was the threat, right? I guess they have gotten rid of 140 some odd, but they did say, oh, we don't have enough money. We're going to have to get rid of 800 positions, 200 of which were already vacant, and they'd have to lay off 600 people unless they got more money. Well, here's a way to find some money. Stop giving bonuses to executives that are not doing their job or not doing it well. If your ratings are down, if fewer people are watching you, if you are not generating the revenue that you used to, maybe there's a problem. In the private sector, you don't get bonuses like that for failing. You might still get a bonus, but it's going to be a lot smaller. That doesn't seem to be the case at CBC.
Lorrie, Tait, the CEO of CBC, she's part of that so-called chattering class. She breathlessly comes to committee and is aghast that anybody would deign to question her on the decisions that are being made at CBC. She took issue with the committee asking her about the inconsistencies in some of her testimony with respect to these bonuses or basically danger pay that apparently CBC executives need when her compensation is going to be decided on. There's some back and forth. She took issue with being called, I do not like being called a liar. She called her own objection in committee. I think that it's no enviable position to be in, other than perhaps the financial compensation Tait gets. But I think for Canadians that are for those that are paying attention and watching this unfold, they think to themselves, well, this is an organization that is receiving almost $1.4 billion of public funds. They're not meeting their mandate. They're not providing the services to the Canadians that, there are supposed to be gaps in the market. That's where CBC is supposed to be. They're not doing any of that. Hell, they won't even call Hamas terrorists, for goodness sake. It has become a joke with the public broadcaster.
Yeah. We should acknowledge, first of all, that, all media, including Post media, do get government subsidies. But of course, nothing like the CBC, which is run on government subsidy. And as for the current president, to me, if somebody wanted to destroy the CBC from within, you would arrange to have a president like the current president. Because she is so, in other words, and look, I'm not saying this is true, but if you wanted to have a fifth columnist inside to weaken that organization in terms of public perception, which is key to the survival of the CBC, you would have the current leader. the CBC got more money in the most recent budget, tens of millions of dollars more. So to me, it's like, okay, well, you said you needed money. They gave you money. You still laid off people. You're still giving these, or you get, at least in the previous fiscal year, you gave almost 14 billion in whatever you want to call it, performance pay. Well, performance pay, wouldn't that be that you're hitting extraordinary?
That's right.
Expanding like dramatically, because frankly, I don't mind that. I don't mind performance pay when a leader is leading an organization that is thriving, that can show through numbers that it's getting better and better and better. Okay, but okay, it's not a bonus. It's not your regular salary, right? And that's the other problem. When your answer to, well, you're giving $14 million to all these executives you have, and you're saying you got to lay off staff, why don't you just not have the bonuses? And your answer is they're not bonuses, they're performance pay. You could not be more tone deaf. Yeah. And remember, it's not just this controversy. Every time Tait comes, there's a new disaster to talk.
That's right.
I just, considering that the CBC does have, and we all know them, has many credible journalists who do a good job, and who I think just look at this stuff and, we can't call terrorists, really? That you would come up with someone who doesn't seem to have an understanding of the media, and most important, of public perception. And it seems to me the whole executive class at the CBC doesn't understand either of those things. And it's not just on that. It's on issue after issue. They just seem to be out of keeping with the mainstream views of Canadians. And that's right. So it's so small. And she's not.
But it appears that they don't even have to, Brian, because they keep getting their bonuses. They keep getting this performance paid, at risk pay, whatever. What are they at risk of? Terrible ratings? I mean, it's unclear to me.
I agree with
you.
I agree with Lorrie when he says if they were hitting their marks, then sure. And there used to be a guy named Richard Stursberg that was brought in to run CBC English services several years ago. He'd been at Telefilm Canada. And if you were getting results like Stursberg, then yeah, you get bonuses, you get performance pay. Because when he was at Telefilm Canada, he came up with the idea 5% of all movie screens in Canada should be showing a Canadian movie, and then went about taking the money the government gave them to fund Canadian movies and said, let's fund movies people want to watch instead of stuff they don't. Then he goes to CBC and says, why don't we make shows that people want to watch instead of what we're making now? Ratings went up. The things did well. You know what they did? They ran them out of town, because they're kind of like the NDP of broadcasting. They don't like success. So they get rid of people that are successful. There's nobody with that kind of mindset at CBC right now. And as far as, perceptions, this is the organization that turned around and quickly sued the Conservative Party, naming two of their journalists as the claimants in the middle of an election campaign, and now lets the Trudeau Liberals use their news clips in social media and in their own ads on a regular basis without even saying boo about it. So it's a biased organization. It is crumbling around the weight of the heavy bureaucracy that's in it. And that's something you can hear even just from talking to frontline CBC journalists who are as frustrated as you and I are with the management of people like Catherine Tait.
Well, and it's worth noting that the CBC lost that lawsuit. So once again, taxpayers are on the hook to pay. Well, let us know what you think in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and go to the TorontoSun.com. You're going to find commentary and coverage there you will not find anywhere else.